You will learn to make API requests with auth, and you're going to learn how to call a real-world REST API. Also, how to chain multiple APIs calls to build a workflow. And finally, you also are going to learn how to visualize response data. For this, you guys, I want to remind you, Postman has a browser web version of the platform, Postman platform on the web, but it also has a desktop platform. So for this, we are going to be using the web platform. If you guys have the desktop platform, you might have to change the callback link, but I will show you how to do it. Okay? So today we're going to learn how to build an automated API workflow in Postman. You're going to learn about auth and APIs. You're going to learn about OAuth explain. You're going to learn about the Postman cloud flows, and you are also going to try it out. And at the end, we're going to have the Q&A session. So what is auth and why do we use it? Anybody in the audience have heard about auth? Okay. So okay, Preston Blake, yes, it is authorization and authentication. Yes, and one type of auth is by having a username and password. So let's learn about it, right? So we have authentication, and we also have authorization. So what is authentication? Authentication is verifying who you are, and authorization is who has the permission to access what in your application, okay, or your API. Does the person who makes this API call has the permission to get the resource? So it is important for you for some APIs to use authorization in order for them to protect the API and also protect the server and from any malicious request. And apart from that, also to limit the amount of requests, to limit the amount of requests that are being made. So here we have some example in here. Authentication, having your passport checked at the airport to verify who you say you are, right? And authorization, being allowed to order a beer at a bar. It has to make sure that your credentials show that you are old enough to drink, right? So there you see the two combined, authentication and the authorization. So authentication, you is but you say who you are, okay? And authorization is to verify that you have the permissions to access the resources. Is that clear? So APIs are important to be able to monitor the use of your APIs, to limit the access of your APIs, and also to make sure of the proper use of the APIs. So these are three types of authorization, okay, or three type of auth. So the basic auth, right? For example, here the username and password. Then we have the API key. And then we have the OAuth, that is a sophisticated auth method using a series of tokens and IDs to authorize requests. So I am pretty sure that you already have heard about API keys and that you are already have heard about OAuth. So let's talk about the API key, okay? So the API key is a method of authorization that functions like an invitation from the API. So you registered an account with the API service, and it gives you an API key to include it in your request. When you make the request, you are going to be using the API key, right? This way, the API can keep track of how many calls you make and how often. So basically, some services out there, like something like Open Weather API, or that they offer premium subscription, and when the free subscription that they give you, when they give you an API, a free API key, they do give you a limit amount of calls per month and so on. So that's why also, apart from not wanting to share our API keys with others, okay, we want to, of course, keep it private to our applications, to our programs, right? But apart from that, is that we want to make sure that since we are the one who are being subscribed to the API key, we are not going to be taking making extra requests that are going over the limit if we want to use the free versions of some API. Some API services give you unlimited amount of calls, but then there are some API services that don't give you a limited amount of calls, and you have to pay a fee for premium or a fee after you go over certain amount of request calls. So that's why we want to make sure that we are keeping our API key personal to ourselves and not sharing it with anybody else. Okay. So, is that clear? Also, what if also some people are making, they are flooding the server with so many request calls, and then they're using your API key, then the API services can revoke that invitation, from you. the invitation to use the API service that they're providing. So it's clear. Why do you want to keep it for yourself, right? You don't want to share your API keys. Let's learn about OAuth, where the magic happens, and we're going to focus on OAuth. We're going to focus on OAuth for our example of today. So have you seen already one of these pages that have multiple logins and like social logins? You probably have seen some of them, right? Instead of you creating an account, you can log in using your existing service. You can log in using your Google account, your Facebook account, and so on, right? So OAuth makes this possible, yeah? For example, a service like DoorDash, like that's this one in here, on here. A service like DoorDash could ask a user for the permission to share certain data from Google, like their names, email addresses, location data, without asking the user for the password. They don't have to ask the user for the password. They can just use this. They can just, if they are already logged in the other services, they can automatically log in DoorDash, right? And Google, for example, will only share the data that the user has given the application permission to view, right? So when you allow an application or service to access your Google data, when you try to log in with your Google account, you can select the permissions. You can allow these services to have the access to this data or not. So it's your choice, right? So layers like OpenID Connect can be added on top of OAuth and add authentication services to the auth flow. So let's see how it happens, right? Let's take a look at this illustration in here, right? So in here we have works like a valid key for a luxury car. And what is a valid key? You guys, a valid key is a special car key that valids can use to move a car owner's to or from a parking space, right? Not all cars have these valid keys. Luxury cars have valid key, right? This valid key comes with limitations, right? So it can be used to start the car and move it a short distance, but it cannot be used to open the glove box or the trunk, okay? It just allows the valet to drive off the sunset, right? Off to the, it does not, right? Right? It does not allow this valet to drive this car away from this hotel, long distance away from the hotel. It limits the valet, okay? So the OAuth tokens work in a similar way. So the resource owner, okay, the resource owner grants the client, the resource owner grants the client limited access to some resources that they own elsewhere, okay? Without giving them the master key, okay? Or actual credentials. Like, it's like, for example, in when you're using, for example, this for your auth and for this application to allow you to log in without having to to be registered in that service, or to put the password directly. It will not allow this, the other service like Google will not allow this service like DoorDash to have access to your emails, to everything, all type of data that they can access. No, it is limited. It just gives the necessary data that it is required for the service to work. Okay. And now it's a little bit, there is time for history lesson on OAuth 1 and OAuth 2. Okay, so there are two type of OAuth, right? OAuth 1 and OAuth 2. Okay. So the beginnings of OAuth 1 started in 2006, when Twitter was developing its own open IT system. Eventually, other interested parties got involved and together developed and released the OAuth 1 in 2007. Okay, so it's all started at Twitter, which is now X, formerly Twitter, right? And it became popular as a standardized solution for the issue of sharing data without having to reveal password from one server to another, right? So it became popular, right? But it was a little bit more complex to implement, okay? So then the OAuth 2.0 was developed. So the OAuth 2.0 simplified the developer experience by allowing the authorization to happen over HTTPS instead of the complicated digital signatures. And since this fundamentally changed the way that OAuth performs, OAuth 2.0 is not backwards compatible with OAuth 1. Okay. So even though one is called OAuth 1 and OAuth 2, they are not backwards compatible. So let's talk about the OAuth 10s. Right, take a look into it. Take a look into this figure. So what is the goal of OAuth? So the goal of OAuth is to obtain an access token. There are several different dances, okay? Several different dances that can be done to obtain the access token. So depending on the application type, there is a different way to obtain the access token. There is one of this way is by in here using the authorization code. You need to have an authorization code to grant the access. So let's take a look about that, right? So this is an example of authorization code grant type, right? So this grant type requires the application to make at least 3 requests in order to authorize the request. So let's say, for example, there is an address book application that needs access to the user's Google contacts. Okay. So first, the application in this example, the client will request authorization from the user, which is the resource owner, right? To access a scope of their resources. So for example, say for example, this application is asking a user, like for example, myself or you yourself, okay, to grant access, to grant permission for them to access your contacts list, your Google contacts list, right? So oftentimes this step is done using a third-party authorization server as an intermediary, or it also or they can ask the user to log in, okay, into that third party. But if they're already logged in, not all the time is going to ask them to log in with the pop-up message that is going to ask them to log in. Not all the time is going to ask them to log in. Sometimes the user is already logged in, so it's not required to log in. Okay, so after this user, a resource owner, grants the permission, okay, then an authorization code is going to be sent back to the application, okay? After this authorization code is sent back to the application, and that means that the user has given permission to the application, then the application is going to make a request to the authorization server to validate the authorization code that was given to the application. And with this, after validating this authorization code, they will receive an access token, okay? And then by and then after receiving this access token, this access token needs to be refreshed if you haven't been using this this for a certain amount of time, okay? So you might have to re-ask for permission if the access token has been expired, right? But you don't have to ask for permission to the user. The application, will ask for permission by sending the authorization code that was given to him at the beginning. And then, finally, by including this access token in the request headers, the application can now access the protected resources like the Google contacts from the resource server, right? So you have the authorization server that gives the access token and the resource server that has the protected resources. Okay, any questions about that? All right, so we continue. So the different the different grant types, okay? So the OAuth 2.0 always begins by getting authorization from the user, okay? So that's the owner of the resource. There are a few different ways that this authorization is granted. These different methods of granting authorizations are called grant types, okay? So these grant types are optimized for different types of applications, such as web apps, mobile apps, server-to-server applications, or first-party applications. So we have in here the authorization code. In the authorization code, the user is prompted to allow or deny access to a third-party resource. So if allow, an authorization code is provided to further the OAuth process. Then we have the authorization code with PXE. So PXE is a code challenge extension to protect sensitive data on application without a client secret. You're going to be using client secret today. So you're going to be using the first one, authorization code, for our example. So for this is useful. The PXE code is useful for applications without server backend to hide the client secrets, okay? And then we also have what is the password and username and password, which are exchanged for an access token, only for the third-party apps. And another grant type is the client credentials. So no user is present. The client uses a set of credentials to authorize itself. And then the legacy one, we have the implicit grant type. So the formal preference for front and only apps, right? So now prefer authorization with PXE because PXE is more secure than the implicit one. So is that clear, guys? Yes? Okay. So we can move on. And this is how it looks like Postman platform, right? So it simplifies the process of doing all of this, right? So the OAuth 10 is complicated, but Postman significantly simplifies this process by providing an organized user interface like this, okay? And a system that does the dance for you. So whichever grant that you choose, letting you to easily gain access to the resources that you need, easily gain access to your access token. Okay. First the access token, then the resources. So you have the authorization code, then you have the access token, and then you can access the resources, right? So what does this have to do with workflows? So basically, almost every API that you come across with will have some type of authorization or authentication method. And this information that you're learning today, okay, this information that you're learning today, you are going to be using that information to build your own API workflow. All right. So it's time for us to try it out, right? We're going to build our workflow using the Spotify API. So this is what we are going to do and the idea behind it, okay? So you've been hired by a music blogger to create a workflow that helps them discover new music based on what they like, okay? And what you're going to be doing is that you're going to be using the Spotify web API to let the blogger search for songs that they like and find similar music. So for this flow, okay, you're going to be using the Spotify API, the auth 2 and Postman. So are you guys ready? Yes. Let's talk about this workflow. Right. So first, we're going to get our access token using the OAuth. After we have our authorization, we are going to be getting our track ID. That means the music ID from Spotify. And then we're going to use the API, Spotify API, to get recommendations. All right. So the turn. 1 second, guys. I'm going to go over this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share this other screen. Some of you already have access to Postman. Some of you already have a Postman account. Some of you don't have Postman account. Who here does not know anything about Postman yet? Okay, so you guys have been here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share the other. Account. So first, I would like you to go over I would like you to go over the Spotify API. I'm going to share the screen here. So in order for you to access the Spotify API, can you guys see the screen here? Okay. So in order for you to access the Spotify API, you can just go ahead and go to developer.spotify.com. Okay, and you're going to create an account in Spotify. So you're going to click on login. And here you have an OAuth. I'm going to use Google to log in into my Spotify API. Oh, 1 second. Come back. Continue with Google. This one. So, I forgot this one. And once you create your account, you want to create your account, okay? Then you can go to the commentation. And when you click on the commentation, you are going to go into Web API. Okay, so you want to learn about getting started. And what we are in here being interested is in the search API using OAuth 2.0. Okay, and we want to not get the these are some response examples in here. We don't want to get the album. We want to do what is the track, right? We want to check the track. So giving a track like the name of a song, we want to get the response with that song. And if that song is in Spotify, this is how the response is going to look like, right? Tracks, different, you have the track type and so on. These are the different other paths that you can give. The other different queries. Here you can have, so this in here is the search API from the Spotify, and these are the different values that you can give, the different parameters. So we have in here the Q, which is the search query, and this is required, okay? And the type, this is also required. So we need the search query and the array and the type in here, okay? So the different types that we can give is either album, artist, playlist, track, and so on, okay? In order for you to see the documentation, it is not required for you to log in, okay? So you can log in without, you can see the documentation without, you can see the documentation without logging, but it is important that you log in so we can get the authorization code. Okay, so you can see in here that we are using the authorization OAuth 2.0. But we want to get the track ID, but also by using the track ID, we want to get what is recommendations, okay? And these are the different values that you can have in here For example, C tracks, right? So with the C tracks, you have to provide the ID of the track to see this to provide for C tracks in the recommendation. So noticing here that the type of this request is a GET request to retrieve data. And also for the search, we also have what is the GET request for search, and it's also to retrieve data. This is an example of how we look like with curl, GET, authorization, W, and so on. We want to do it using Postman. So let's talk about Postman, okay? So in Postman, you want to go to Postman. You can go ahead and access Postman. Let me just go ahead and sorry. You can access Postman by here. You go to postman.com, okay, and then you click on sign in. Okay. And in there you can sign in. You can also sign up if you are for the first time using Postman. So you can just go to postman.com. And you can create your account and then log in. Okay. So I'm already logging. Okay. And what I'm going to do right here is to create a new workspace. This isn't here in my request. I'm going to create a new collection. So going back in here. So I will create a blank collection in here. So I just click on here and then I click on new collection, okay? And this collection, you can call it API 102, anything that you want to call it, okay? So I have given the name of API 102, all right? And the first thing that I want to do, and I'm going to just rename it to just building a workflow. So the first thing we want to do is that we want to have what is authorization, okay? We want to go to authorization. So we're going to go ahead and click on here. And what type of authorization we want? We want auth 2.0, okay? And with this, we can grab, after you select the OAuth 2.0, you can just grab this callback URL. So I'm going to just copy this and grab it in here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Spotify dashboard, and then I'm going to create a new app. I'm going to name this app API. Yes. Okay, coming back. I'm going back. So if you guys, so how do you go to the dashboard on Spotify for developers? Okay, so after you have created your account in Spotify, and then you can create the app. So what are you guys lost with? In which part? So you have to go to Spotify and here. You guys have to go to developer.spotify.com, and you guys have to create an account in the developer.spotify.com. And then, yes, you do have to verify your email. And then when you see your name in here, you can see the dashboard. So you click on the dashboard. Can you guys see, are you guys until here? Can you guys get until the dashboard? Okay, so once you are in the dashboard, you can click on this button that says Create App. Okay, so once you click on Create App, you can select a name for your app. Any name will suffice. So this is going to be called API 102 song. You guys can put any names you guys want. Recommender. You provide get recommendations. Songs recommendations. Recommendations. Okay. And after that, you can select in here, you can paste your callback URI from Postman. And then you can click on the type of API that you're going to be using. You're going to be using the web API. And then you click on I understand and agree. You can go ahead and do that. So basically, if I come back in here, after you create after you create your collection, okay. After you create the collection, you click on the collection here, and then you click on authorization. And then in authorization, you can go ahead and make sure that you selected the type OAuth 2.0, and then you can go ahead and grab this callback URL from there. So in the type, you put the OAuth 2.0. And then you scroll down and you grab the callback URL. And you can paste it in here. And then you can click on Save. And then you have now created the app in here. You have created what is going to give you the authorization code. Okay, so you click on Settings and you are going to see the client ID. Okay, before I do anything with this client ID and this client secret, which are needed, I want to go back to the documentation so you guys can see about authorization. So in here, this is the documentation on how to get your authorization code, okay? And this is the authorization code flow, okay? In the documentations. So we have what is in here, this different information, like for example, this in here, which is the authorized, it's going to grab access to the authorization server, okay? So we are going to go ahead and grab the link, okay? Also, this in here in the bottom, this in here is the link for the authorization token, okay? So if we come back into our authorization tab in the API 102 workflow collection, we can see that there is two links in here. One is authorization URL and the authorization token URL. So you go back in here and you are going to go ahead and copy this link for authorization link, okay? You paste it here. And in here, okay, we have in here the authorization token. Copy this and you paste it here. Okay, I'm going to save this. So now we have what is the authorization URL and the authorization token, okay, URL. So if you guys want, you can give this a name. You can call it Spotify. And now I want to create two variables. One is going to be client ID and the other is going to be client secret. So we are in the authorization tabs. So then I click on here for variables. And I'm going to create a variable called client ID. It's not required for you to make a capital letters or lowercase letters. It's up to you. And the other one, I'm going to give it client secret. So now I'm going to go back to my Spotify API, to my Spotify developer website, okay? And then go to the dashboard and then go to this one and go to settings. So this was the app that I created. I'm going to go to settings and I'm going to copy the client ID and I'm going to go back and paste it as my current value. And the other one is client secret. And I'm going to copy it and paste it as my current value. So now I'm going to put the name of those variables that I created and save. Okay.
Professor, is it okay if you can go back to variables?
I click on variables and I have this.
Thank you.
So I got the secret from here. So hide secret, view secret. The Spotify dashboard from whatever from where you got the client ID. Okay. And then we are going here and then we're going to put you can either put it in directly in here or you can just put it in here, just like you can put it just like a variable. How do you put the variables? You open the curly brackets and then curly brackets again, and then
Professor,
mm-hmm.
Can you show me one more time where you got the auth URL
Yes.
from the Spotify tutorial thing?
Yes. So documents, okay. Then I click on authorization, okay. And then you click on authorization code, okay. And then I have the URL from here, okay. And I have the authorization tag URL from here in the bottom, okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so and here I'm going to agree. I click on get new access token. And then I'm going to say agree whether my app, the one that I created on Spotify, can access my Spotify data. And I have created the access token. A new access token. Yes? What error do you guys get? So did you put the correct URL? Invalid client. So did you use your client from your Spotify dashboard? You see, you can you can, if you guys feel like it, instead of creating the variable, that you can copy and paste it directly in there. Okay, so we move on, and your client ID should be fine. If you go and check it, no extra spaces, do not, and make sure that you didn't like copy just part of it and not the entire part. Okay. All right. So we move on. And don't worry about now. I will give you I will give you a copy of this so you guys can practice after this is done. Okay. So I'm going to create a new request. So this request in here, I'm going to create a request called get. I'm going to name it get track ID. This is just a request. And right now this is okay. I have this is just a name for my request, right? Now it's time for us to get the track ID. Okay, so how do you get a track ID? Right. So in order for you to get a track ID, we come back to the documentation so you guys can see where I get it from. Okay, so I click on the search API, search for item. Okay, and then I can have it just like this. Okay. This in here, this in here is the link, the URL that takes me to the search API. If I want to, and I come, if I want it, if I want to, I can just highlight everything in here. And take it as well. I'm going to just take it in here, highlight everything in here, and set as a variable. And I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to call it base URL. Since I'm going to be using this in my other other request, I'm going to create it and put this in here and just put search. Okay. So what happens in here, I'm going to save. I have created a variable, and you can see this variable by clicking on here, and you can see that I have base URL variable. You can create a variable directly into here, or you can create it from here, and you can select the scope of your variable. So what is in that variable is the Spotify API.spotify.com v1. All right. So what do we need to have in the search to grab the, let's say for example, a track, right? So we need the search query, and also we need what is the type of the type, but also in here in this search query we can provide what is the tag, and also we can provide the artist. Okay, so for here we have Q for the query in here, Q, and also type, which is also required. For the type, okay, for the type I have what is the for the type I have the track. So the type is going to be track, and then in here for the search query, then for the search query I need to go ahead and provide the track name and the artist for this one. So you can see that in the documentations as well. Okay, so as an example in here, track, try, going back. So I don't want to try it. I want to just go back to the example. Track. And this is how it looks like. This is an endpoint, how it looks like. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to provide the track, and then I'm going to provide the artist. Okay. Track. Going to create two variables in here. I'm going to create a track variable, and I'm going to create the artist. So the track here, toxic, and the artist, Britney Spears. Okay. So the value for this one is going to be track, and I will put the artist. I didn't save it in here. 1 second. Save. I'm going to put a track plus, okay, artist, and provide the Britney Spears, which is going to be artist. Okay. So there we have the track and the artist. Okay. So we have in here, and this in here, save. Inherit authorization, inherit from parents, And this also save. Okay, come back in here. It says no token provided in here, though. It's saying that the not authorized. Okay, so when this is not authorized, let me just come back in here, just verify something in here. And come back in here. So you guys can see back to the authorization code. You guys can go back to the authorization code in here. How do you guys want to do the authorize? And we go back in here. I'm just going to save this without having this in here, without having the question mark. Okay, and let's send again. Let me come back to the authorization code. Okay, refresh. I'm coming back and put it at this one and save. So I needed to put this in here in the authorization code, the token that was given to me. Okay. When it says current token, I needed to put it in there in the authorization. So when you create this, okay, you are creating a token, and you're going to see it in the drop down in here. Okay. And then I go ahead and run this. Send. And there you go. I have results, right? I have Britney Spears. I have what is in here, the link, the album. And if I click on here and I go and click on here, come back. Not entirely, I don't want this button here. Okay, the offset, not needed. Okay, so if I click on here, I'm coming back in here. I come back. Reload, because the thing that I save. Okay, I sent. If I click on here, and I want to go there, but not here, I want to click on here and copy this in the URL so you guys can see the actual link that was given to us that is in actual link. Okay, so come back in here, copy and paste this. Okay, and we see that the first track that is given in this Britney Spears is toxic. Okay, so let's click on here and test. Do you guys, okay, how now let's write some testing code, okay? Were you able to get a response? If were you guys able to get a response? Okay, so let's now test this. Const, I'm going to click on test in here, and I'm going to write a JavaScript, okay? So body, and PM is the prefix for Postman platform, so you can access different features in Postman. Okay, so I'm going to get the response, okay, from my Postman request. So, and here, body gives you the response. If you guys want to test that in here, if you guys want to check, the response is what you saw in here in the bottom, okay? But then what I want to access from this body, from this response, okay, is the first track, okay? This is a big response. I want just the first track. So I'm going to create a variable called the first track, okay? I'm going to make this capital letters, and then I'm going to do body dot tracks, okay? The items, and I want the first element in this item. And we want to check that this is working. Okay, so we are we can after the Q&A we can go over any errors if you guys are going over errors, okay? Const track ID. First track the ID. And I want to make sure I will console that log, okay? So I can see the console. You can see the console in the bottom, okay? So I want to make sure that I'm getting something in here. Maybe first track or just track ID. And then I'm going to go ahead and before doing anything, I'm going to run again and send it again. So I see that I got a track ID, okay? So what I want to do is that I want to store, this track ID and a variable, okay? So PM that collection variables. Okay, if I don't have it, I will create. It will create set and I'm going to call it track ID. And what is going to be in there is just the value that was that I got from the response. So if I go ahead and run this again, I have now stored this track ID into my variable. So if I go into these variables, okay, if I go into this collection, I have a and I go to variables. I'm going to close this for 1 second. I will see that a new variable was added from the console in here. So I have track ID and it has stored my track ID in there. Okay. So now that I have the ID, now I can get the recommendations. Now I can use my now I can use the track ID to get recommendations. Okay. Right. So I have to provide a seed, right? So I would provide the track ID to get recommendations. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to come back in here and create a new get request. So I'm going to create a new get request. I just not save a name in there. I'm going to create it here. I'm going to use I'm going to name this request. I'm just going to put it just I'm going to use this, and I'm going to not use this one, but recommendation. So I'm going to go back in here and just make sure that I type it in the same name. Recommendations. Copy this. I'm going to save it and I'm going to rename it as I'm going to save it in here. Just the name to get recommendations. Save. Okay. So I have this one, and in order for me to get recommendations, okay, in order for me to get recommendations, I have to provide the track ID, okay? So it's going to be my key in here for me to provide I have to provide the track ID. In order for me, if I want to provide the track ID, I will do C tracks. So I will do this. So for my recommendations, I'm going to do C tracks. And what I'm going to provide for value is the track ID. So if I run this, I see a bunch of recommendations, okay? But I don't want 100 recommendations or more. I want to have a list 3 recommendations. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, not 100 recommendations. I want to get the top 3 recommendations. Okay, so it's okay, just for testing, okay, and testing purposes. As a response, I get a lot of recommendations, but I want to just grab some recommendations from that list or array, of recommendations. So I'm going to go ahead, const body pm dot response dot json. So I'm getting the response, and from the response, I'm going to grab the top 3 recommendations. So it could be the top 5. How many do you guys want me to put? Top 3, top 5, top how much? Okay, so I see, and I see top 3, top 10. I will show you both. First, I will show you with 3, and then I will show you with 10. Okay, so for the 3, first the 3 and then the 10 recommendations. There are much more than that, but I'm going to give you. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do const and create a variable, and this variable is going to be called, for now, top 3, and then I will change it to top 10. Okay, first top 3. I'm going to recommendations, and I'm going to just do body dot tracks dot slice, and I'm just going to do the top 3, so starting from 0 up to 3, but I'm not including the 3, right? So if I wanted to do the top 10, copy this, just the same, but I'm just going to be top 10 and here, and I put, instead of 3, what do I put in here? If I want the top 10 instead of 3, what do I put? 10, right? All right, so then I do const track, and so I'm just going to grab the name very quick of my track that I first got, that I first wanted. Okay, so let's say, for example, I'm going to get it from my collections of variables. So I'm going to do get, and then I'm going to put in there a track. And now I'm going to just create a little HTML. I write a little bit of HTML. So I'm going to call it here a template. Okay. And if you guys want to see how this is looking like right now, I can do some console.log so you guys can see, or I can finish it up and then I'll show you. So I'm going to show you first how does the top 3 recommendations look like. Some consoles that log that top 3. Okay, so look at this, so many right now, so many lines of response. Okay, so if I run this again, now it is smaller, and I have in the here console that 3 recommendations, 1, 0. The first recommendation in here was the album, the artist for the first recommendation was Rihanna, and so on. Okay, there is another album. Every time I run this, I'm going to get a different recommendation. Artists for this one was Sugar Babes. I don't know this artist, but yeah. So let's continue, and I'm not going to do the console that log. I just wanted to show you what was in there. Okay. Now I'm going to create HTML, write HTML into a variable. Okay. Template, call it template. I'm going to put the tilde in here, and within the tilde, I'm going to write my HTML. So I'm going to put in here an H3 H3 element, which is for heading in HTML. So discover new tunes. Okay. And the other part is going to be a paragraph. Okay. And a paragraph element in HTML. And what I'm going to do is, if you like, and put the name of the track that I was looking for example, Toxic, okay? And put it into quotation marks. So I show the quotation marks in between, and put in here tracks. Track is just going to grab the variable, the value of my variable track, okay? And then you will love and then I put colon, okay? And then at the bottom, I'm going to create another list, UL in HTML, close my another list, and first I start by doing a for each top 3 recommendations. Okay. Now an li for list item, li name, which is going to be part of it. Okay. And like if you guys go in here, see you will see the part of name. This is the name, or so you will see names on that. So come back in here, and I'm going to also provide the URL. So href, and provide the source for the search ref for this for them to play the music. Okay. So in order for me to get it, I can get it from external URL, external URLs that Spotify. Okay, so if you go into the console and see what is in here, external URLs, and then you see Spotify, you will be seeing that it has the link to the track. Okay, so now I'm done writing my HTML, but I want to display it. So what I want to do is that I'm going to use the tool visualizer, okay, and provide a template, and pass parameters, okay. Oh, I forgot to close that one. Thank you, Felix. So I close this one with the li. Thank you, Felix, for that. And here we have the I also have to close the each, okay. So each. All right. So I'm going to pass in here as parameter the top 3 recommendations and the track. All right. So that means that when I go into this template, when I go this and here and visualize this and I say, okay, so when I go into this template, I'm going to be able to visualize it. So I'm going to send this again and visualize response. Mm, in the bottom, I have this value in here. So let me just verify what do I have in here. So this is what I was getting from here. And let me just make sure that I have not missed anything in here, and therefore right. So I need to do this visualizer.set. Okay. So now it's different. Save, because this was in here, and send. And then I click on visualizer set, and I see there is this part of it. Visualizer, PM the visualizer, and here. Let me erase this extra code that was in here. And there you go. This PM visualizer dot set template, comma, line 6. Let me do a semicolon in here. It seems that I don't have a variable called track. So what I'm going to check is in here. Let me just check the name of this variables. And I have track. And I do have a variable called track. Mm. So give me one quick second to see what is it that I type incorrectly. It says error in name, line 6. I put this in curly bracket. Ah, there you go. This part. There was a closing thing in here. There you go. And there you go. Yes, I have one curly brackets in here that was closing in curly brackets. But yeah, this is it. And if I wanted to use instead of top 3 and give top 10, then it is top 10. And I pass in here top 10. Top 10. Okay. And I send here. I can see, and if I scroll down, the top 10. Yep. So there you go. All right, guys. Any questions so far? Do you guys want me to give you the link to this so you guys can practice on your own? And if you guys want, let me just go over something very quick. Search. So you learn how to do this. I'm going to give you the link to the collection so you can forget and practice. But also you are welcome to learn Postman on your own pace. Also, I will have swags, good swags. If you guys, there is t-shirt, there is sweaters, there is diaries. I mean, you know, the notebooks where you write. If you guys want to, you guys are welcome to just write about this workshop on LinkedIn and tag me, and then send me the link, and then I will select you as a winner, and you can get some nice swag. There is a nice swag over there. Nice swag you guys can use to keep yourself warm with a sweater, and some stickers for your laptops and so on. All right. Okay, so I'm going to give you the link. Give me 1 second. And also it would be great if you guys it's Lorik is are you here, Lorik?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want the students to give do you want the students to give feedback?
I believe there's a survey link for each one, but if they can provide the feedback, it'd be very beneficial. Is there anything specifically you need in terms of your input Postman, or is this general feedback?
General feedback. I can go ahead and grab a link for the form. And hi, Lorik, I didn't notice, but thank you for coming and joining. So I'm going to go ahead and give one link for the form for feedback. It's just personal feedback. It's not needed. It's needed if you guys want. If you guys, yes. It would be great if you guys give me some feedbacks, and yeah. So I'm going to give you a link for the feedback, and then I'm going to give you a link for you to practice on your own.
So when's the last workshop? What date is that?
So the last workshop will be on the 17th of November.
And students who do participate, they would also have to sign up, and then when they have an opportunity, do the modules Postman to get a digital badge. Is that correct?
Yes. When they so if they complete the Postman student expert, they will be able to get a badge for the LinkedIn, but also as a part of the CS Lab and the CS Club, I believe that after completing the series, there will be a badge, right?
Yes, we're working on it. I think right now we have the design, just kind of waiting for the approval.
Okay, perfect. And there were many students that were here before, and then this is and there are some students that this is the first time, and that is wonderful. Let me just go ahead and give the link of the link to the so they can practice on their own, and also for them to become a student expert. Okay, so let me just go ahead and
All right, thank you for doing this today. I know that I'm going to run off, and for those who did show up today, thank you for coming. I hope you learned a lot, and considering the content that respectively learning in CMP 167, this was the actual idea of methods. So you were working on the abstraction of methods. You were actually working with not creating the details of it, but the abstract data type where you make the calls and you're able to pull things in real time. And it'll, the next part continues this, so you can see another aspect of working in the computer science field. And again, thank you for your time. All right, guys, take care.
Thank you so much for making it. Thank you. And guys, this is the link for you to fork the collection, and this is going to be the link for you to do the Postman student expert. 1 second, let me grab it for you. So it's copy and paste. All right, so if you guys want to become a Postman student expert, this is the link in the bottom. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And if you guys want to see the next workshop, we'll be building a React app using the Spotify API. So it's a continuation of this one. So for the recording of this, I don't know if I will be able to have access to this recording, but there is another recording through this link where you can access somebody else going over the steps on how to complete this workshop. Okay, this workshop of today. All right.